Okay.
Okay.
So I can set the record and all that.
Yeah, if you want to make me host, I'll go live too.
Okay. You're it.
I'm it. Hey guys, how are you today?
Hello.
Good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Let me adjust my lighting here real quick, and we'll get it.
Didn't you go have a baby or something, Tanner?
I did indeed. A beautiful bouncing baby girl, 2 months old now.
Cool.
Yeah.
He is, and his figure has popped right back into shape so quick.
I refuse to let the dad bod get me.
At least for now.
For now, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so I'll get us going. We'll actually go live on Facebook anyway, and then be ready to go here. Let's see. One group on one page. We are good to go, and we need to be recording.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hey there, welcome, Stephen Oliver again. And we are joined today by Kate and Tanner. Kate and Tanner of Linked Selling. And guys, we've been working together. I don't even want to think about how long now. Every time I think about these timelines, we were talking about how long I've been working with Greg Moody and then somebody else. Like every time I do that, I feel old. I'm trying to age in reverse rather than the direction that seems to be going here. But we've been working with you guys for a long time, ever since before the company was sold the first time. So, but to give a little introduction, then I'll let you each introduce yourself. We work with you on doing Facebook advertising and Instagram, and have done, God, I don't even want to guess, probably $1 million plus directly, and well into the multi-millions with clients that you've done in paid media for us over the years. And then also in LinkedIn advertising, which for some niches is probably the best possible source, and others maybe not so much. We can discuss that as well. But with let me let you guys introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of pick up from there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Like I said, I'm Kate, and I am the director of agency for the ads division of Link Selling. And we are a paid media advertising agency that focuses on both Facebook and LinkedIn ads. And then another part of our company also does cold outreach services as well. So more one-to-one outreach for email, phone calls, and LinkedIn outreach and business development growth. So all of our goals are to get your sales pipeline more full, and get more opportunities on your calendar day in and day out, and more consistently than what is necessarily happening on your own. And I do have Tanner with me, so I'll let him introduce himself. But like I said, we've been working with you for me, it's been 7 years, and I think that you came on to Link Selling for about a year or so before that. So yeah, 7, 8 years.
I think it may have been 2 or 3 years before that.
It could be, yeah.
We're creeping up on a decade here, pretty close.
Tanner's in there too. Yep.
Yeah.
If you count, time, prior to that, I think we're coming close to a decade. But I'm Tanner Stolte. I am our account executive and lead strategist here at Link Selling. And I'm the day-to-day guy, the guy on the ground, tech-heavy guy, always crawling through the accounts, figuring out how we can optimize them, keeping up with the most current trends on all the platforms to make sure our ads are performing and producing leads. And more recently, I've been awarded one of only 55 LinkedIn certified marketing experts worldwide. So LinkedIn recently rolled out a certification program, and they only award 30 of those per year. So I was fortunate enough to be accepted into that group and have my work vetted by LinkedIn and vetted by some of the other certified marketing experts in the program. So that's a little bit about us and what we're getting into.
Well, and we should say, Kate, hadn't been that long since you got married. Congratulations.
The recording has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, that was weird. But congratulations. And Tanner, you're a new dad here in 2 months.
Yes,
So
indeed.
that's I imagine you're still in kind of sleepless mode at this point.
You know, I don't want to brag and or jinx it, but we're getting a good 6 to 7 hours a night already.
Yeah.
So
That's
not too shabby over here.
Excellent. Yeah, I was pretty lucky with both of mine as well, I must say. But our topic really is maximizing marketing results for financial advisors, and it is interesting to me. Within this niche, there seems to be an awful lot. Not seems to be. There's an awful lot of blinders on that people have, and I don't know how many financial advisors we've talked to who says, "Oh, Facebook won't work for financial advisors," and then we talk to financial advisors that say, "Oh, LinkedIn doesn't work for financial advisors," and some portion of them are like, "Well, the only way we can get new people is referrals," and then others think that they have to give away a filet mignon and send out a postcard with a filet mignon on it is the only thing that works. Which it's not that doesn't work. It's we won't go into that today, but there's all kinds of things that go wrong with that marketing in a lot of ways. But let's talk about experience so far and how you want to go about thinking about those platforms. And start with the premise. If a financial advisor brings in a client with let's say the average fee-based guy brings in a client with $1 million in assets, they're going to be on a gross basis, pulling in about 1% of that. And financial advisors tend to have extremely good client retention year over year. So I think a good guesstimate is that the lifetime value of clients $100,000 or more to the advisor in a very reasonable computation. Certainly not somebody who's unqualified and has two nickels to rub together, but somebody who's in their target audience. They have a really strong lifetime value, and in fact, they have if they do it right, the way that we would recommend, they have a very strong upfront value or near term in the first 6 to 12 months as well. But let's talk about each of the different platforms perhaps individually, and then how you combine the two. Where would you guys like to start?
Yeah, I'll start just with a general overview on, we're big proponents of having multiple tactics in your marketing strategy and getting out in front of people in multiple different ways. So like you mentioned, the steak dinners and the referrals, those are definitely things that may be a part of your successful marketing plan, but we want to make sure that you're getting in front of people in a lot of different ways. And social media, either Facebook or LinkedIn, does take care of a lot of that opportunity of, having your brand out there, being able to be seen by potential clients and prospective clients. And then also being seen by your current clients so that they're reminded to then refer you if you're having a good experience with them. So and all of it is necessary, being able to pick and choose which things are the most successful from a new client potential creation opportunity, and then scaling those is the way that we promote that to our clients. And Facebook and LinkedIn has been very successful overall with getting those new people in the door. So many of the financial advisors that we've talked to or have dealt with, and I think this is true for you guys too, is, how have you always gotten clients? Oh, it's just been referral based. And, you'll get some here and there, but that's not consistent. It's not something you can lay your cap on of, being able to I'm going to grow my firm through referrals. It's awesome if you're getting that many referrals and it's succeeding and getting you to grow your business. That's fantastic, and kudos and great job. But there's a lot of, just pure reliance on that as your only lead source. And Facebook and LinkedIn are some opportunities where you're able to add that consistency of getting new people in the door. So I'll put the thing out there, getting those people in the door doesn't mean that you get them in the door tomorrow and that a week later they're investing their millions with you. It does take that relationship building throughout the process, but you wouldn't have that lead if you didn't have the Facebook or LinkedIn ads or whatever aspects going to find those new people. So we place a lot of value on that, and it's a lead generation and it's a pipeline creation strategy so that you're getting those new people in. And of course, we're trying to get appointments set up and discovery calls or consultation calls, whatever your first aspect of dealing with a new client is, and getting those, people to then convert through your sales process down the road and having them actually invest with you.
You bet. And or said a different way, you're working that top of a funnel to get new people in. And I think I told you guys this one, but I did a little survey of our clients and asked them, how long have you been following me, paying attention, reading emails, getting stuff in the mail before you decided to do something. And Greg, you were there for that conversation. I think it was, one of them said 7 years, one of them said 12 years, another one said 5 years, and of course there was a smattering of right away. But the unfortunate reality on a substantive decision and having somebody manage your funds, relying on them for retirement planning, for not running out of money in retirement, et cetera. That's a pretty substantive decision for people, and they need to not know, like, and trust you and build that relationship. And what we see so many times is they generate a lead, send them a few emails, give up. They get a lead, they make a phone call or two, send them a few emails and give up. We're in the mode of, we generate a qualified lead, and we'll do a number of things to qualify them, but then we'll mail to them forever. We just reactivated this year. I don't know what the number is, quite a few former clients. Some of them had gone, last time we interacted with them was 12 years ago, 10 years ago, 7 years ago. So the generating a lead cost effectively and then continuing to market them is something that gets left out a lot. Let's talk about targeting and effectiveness. Maybe start with Facebook. What are some pros and cons of Facebook for a financial advisor, and how do you go about thinking about targeting for them?
Yeah, sure, I'll let Taylor dive in on that one. Yeah, perfect.
Absolutely. First, I'll say one of the benefits of setting up your own campaign on Facebook. We've talked and worked with a lot of financial advisors over the years who buy pre-vetted, not pre-vetted leads. They call them pre-vetted. But they'll buy leads from websites, so like content syndicating websites, who might have someone opt in on a form, and then they send that lead out to 6 different advisors, and whoever can dial them first is going to get the lead. Whereas when we build a campaign in Facebook, you own the lead. It's a local lead to you. They've raised their hand and they've shown interest in the subject matter, whether it's PDF download about savings or retirement strategies or whatever it may be. You own that lead and it's yours. You're not fighting over it with somebody else. And when it comes to the actual targeting in Facebook, we get quite a variety because I'm sure, as you know, Facebook has way more information on us than we'd like them to. But from an advertising and marketing perspective, it's a gold mine. So we can target based on age, gender. We can target around lifestyle habits. So, luxury goods, income, frequent travelers, international travelers, just came back from overseas. We have a whole slew of targeting events to sort of get you up towards the type of clients that you're looking for. We have some advisors who, they're not always looking for a $1 million+ portfolio. They're looking for someone who's on the lower end that they can help grow. Maybe they just have 400, 500K in a portfolio. We have other advisors that won't touch anything under $1 million. And so Facebook gives us the ability to sort of mix and match targeting, really dial it in to a local market and get you clients that you can shake hands with and actually connect with in your local community.
Yeah. Wait, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I was going to say, or potentially, some of the advisors that we work with want to do national, but narrow down their niche really tight, and you guys can do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was an example of one of your advisors was really into Star Wars, and so you can layer a Star Wars interest right on top of your ads. You can say, I want to talk to men and been in their 40s to 55 who who have an interest in Star Wars and are in the top 50% of income in the US, and we'll start running ads towards them, maybe some Star Wars themes on there. But there's certainly a lot of niche capabilities, not just around interests, but just around lifestyle habits and things like that as well.
Yeah, and to give some examples, I guess, is, advisors we work with, one of the firms is targeting specifically doctors. Now, I always like to, I mean, that's still a pretty broad niche. Another one I'm working with was targeting female docs, and another one targeting women CEOs, and we can kind of go down the list. But what I always kind of like to do with financial advisors is get as narrow as possible and then broaden the geography as wide as possible. And what both of the platforms are really good at is targeting a very select group of people. One of the things that we've done with you guys a lot is go find lists of the people that we want to target, and then upload the list into Facebook. Facebook can do what's called a lookalike audience, and so it can broaden it out from there. You can even upload a list of your own clientele and have them go find people who look like what you already have. Talk about that kind of targeting. So if I wanted to do general contractors, or if I wanted to do neurosurgeons, let's talk about that in the context of Facebook and how you go about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Facebook does offer direct job title targeting as well as educational targeting. And you can even pull in universities that people have been to or graduated from, say dentists, for example. All the dental universities are in Facebook, just like all the other trade schools are in there as well. And to your point, pulling a specific list, let's say you're already working with contractors and you have an email list that's 10 years old, has a few thousand people on it that you've collected over the years, we can load that into Facebook. Facebook starts crawling and matching all the profiles, and it's looking at job titles, habits, age ranges, all that fun stuff. And then it builds us a pool that says, hey, we have this other group of users that matches this type of pattern in terms of traits, and you can also send ads to them. And it's one of the better performing audiences on Facebook outside of just using their direct targeting. Facebook's very heavy these days on letting the AI and the bots sort of figure everything out for you. You just need to point them in the right direction and sort of unleash the hounds, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and they're getting paid on clicks, right? So that they're very highly incentivized to get the targeting right, to find people who are gonna click through, and I think we forget that sometimes. We forget that their incentive at the back end are find people who are going to be interested in what it is you're doing, and
Absolutely.
and focus on that. Um, the I guess the complaint that I've heard a lot, and and part of the reason we started working so closely with you is, number one, you were doing a really good job for us, but number two is the fact that we work really closely between our clients and you, and back and forth, allows us to sort out the wheat from the chaff on what's going on. And what we find is, as soon as people start feeding themselves with triple, quadruple, 10 times the number of leads that they've been used to in the past, their initial complaint is always, oh, these are all flaky leads, and let's talk about that a little bit, because I have found in almost all cases that it's the client who's flaky on follow-up, not the leads that are flaky on interest. Kate, do you want to talk about that a little bit? You and I commiserate behind the scenes a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not that I say anything, behind our clients' back, that I don't say, triplets harshly to their face. But it's very rare that we find that once the campaign is crafted properly and targeted properly, that it's the actual leads that aren't solid.
Yeah. Follow up is a huge key there. So we have a lot of clients, like you said, they'll get the initial couple emails and their follow up, but then they go dead. And firms and financial advisors aren't necessarily set up to have that ongoing long-term nurture sequences that go out, whether that be email, direct mail, everything, all of it. And there's a way that we can help with that as well on our side. So continuing to create and pump out that content that is going to be valuable to your prospective clients, so that they're thinking about you and getting the information that they need to then make that decision in future. That's a huge part of it. And then the initial follow-up and the immediate follow-up. So we recommend so much to our clients of any industry, any business, any type of campaign, to once a lead comes in, give them a call. Like get in front of them as fast as you can and actually reach out to them because they were obviously thinking about something at that time. So the sooner you can get in front of them and be on the phone with them and actually talk to them, maybe you have a better chance of moving them forward into an ongoing relationship or starting to build that relationship with them. So many times, there's leads that come through and they're never called, or they're called a week and a half later, or they're called 17 years later.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
much of that happening that there's of course, we're not saying call people at 2 a.m. Of course not. But, give them a call that very next morning and make sure you're getting in front of them as soon as possible while they're still thinking about it, because the longer you wait, what we call speed to lead, the longer you wait, the more chance it is that they're going to maybe pick up and be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And maybe they do in the end, but that's always the excuse, is that they don't even remember that they clicked the form and filled in their information and gave you all the information and got the download or whatever it was that the campaign was offering them. So the huge aspect of it. So there's so much of that from a quality standpoint that if you're not following up with them, how do you know they're junk or flaky? Like, unless you're talking to them, how do you know? And so that's a lot of the complaint that we get. People get a lot of volume of new leads coming through when a campaign starts of any type. And then, they're not following up, or they're judging a book by a cover kind of thing a little bit sometimes, and looking at the information that's submitted. But we try to also qualify people through the campaign as well. So we're asking for maybe potential assets that can be invested, types of information like that, that you have that information. And if someone is, filling out the form and they fit your criteria of what you want in your ideal type of clients, then reach out to them as soon as possible, so that you can get in front of them. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be some junk that comes through and people that don't fit. But like you said, the closer we can get into some of that niche targeting, specific interest targeting, things like that, the closer we're going to be able to get to the type of person that you want. So there's a better chance of having, higher quality. And a great percentage would be, 70-80% that meet your qualification that are coming through. And then you have that 10-20-30% that don't. That's totally normal. That's going to be the case of any type of marketing campaign that you're going to put out there for anything. That's the case for referrals that you get too. Sometimes people aren't qualified there too. So, you want to make sure that you're getting in front of them and you're looking at the whole picture and not just the last lead that came through, and maybe that was junky, but there were 5 before it that were really good.
Yeah.
And I think you said something that I could add on to that. I think you said something that, just to anchor in, the speed at which you get to the lead, the speed to lead, or the speed at which we call back and have a human call somebody back, or have really effective texting, calling, and emailing back very, very fast, is really important. And I think people get misunderstand this, especially if they've been in the business for a while. If they were doing this 10 years ago, it wasn't as big a deal, or 15 years ago, to call and leave a message and people would return your call. But the data shows that people are going to get more distracted and aren't going to answer their phones as well as they used to. So just because somebody doesn't answer their phone, or just because if you call back in an hour, you think that lead is low quality, that's not a good determination of lead quality. If you're calling back the next day and you think that you determine the lead's a bad quality lead, that's just not good data. If you're calling back immediately, and for one thing, you're saying, Kate, that you're going to get a lot better responses. But I think this idea that we're determining leads are bad quality, but yet we're calling back later, or we're not doing much to reach out to them, is not right. This age, if people are responding to your marketing, they're very quickly going to be onto something else on their phone or on their computer, or watching TV, doing something else.
Or maybe onto another financial advisor's site,
Yeah.
and filling out information there because it's something they care about right then and there, and boom, you lost them.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's a great point too. And so we've got to be good at getting back to them. So you guys will do a great job getting leads for people. The advisor's got to do their job on the other end of understanding the way marketing works nowadays and getting back to them as quick as possible.
And Greg, you
Absolutely.
had two nestled points in there, and let me break them out. I opened my business 40 years ago in August, and I used to say, leads had a half-life of 72 hours, and what I meant by that is they forget you exist after about 72 hours, and maybe now it's 7.2 minutes. The timeline has changed really dramatically.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and the second thing has shifted is the difference between landlines and mobile numbers, and the fact that people just don't answer unknown numbers. And so the reason why you have to build in nurture systems is the word you used, Kate, nurture systems by email, text, direct mail, and so forth, is to keep yourself in front of them and keep them from going cold. In other words, forgetting that they even inquired for information, and to stay in front of them until you get hold of them. And you always do for us, set up immediate lead comes in, they get a text, they get a voicemail, they get an email immediately, so they stay in front of them. And then a nurture sequence in the short term. We always set up a nurture sequence like until they die, or threaten to kill our firstborn if we don't take them off the list. Uh,
Mhm.
but that kind of follow up. But let's. And by the way, our benchmark on those, for all those people who think that it's flaky, of qualified leads, we're seeing 50 to 75% convert to appointment, and we're seeing 50% or more convert to clients from there. So if it costs me $100 for a lead, it's cost me $200 for an appointment, $400 for a new client. And even if you doubled those numbers, you're still with a lifetime value of 100,000 and a first year value of at least 10, if not 15. It's well worth the effort. I mean, it's for a financial advisor, the ROI on their marketing is far going to exceed any investment they're ever going to put a client in, any investment they're ever going to do for themselves. And, they'll pat themselves and jump up and down all day if they get their client a 10% annual return. But for themselves, we can get them 1,000 times, tenfold return on investment with the marketing done in the right way. Well, why don't we shift and talk about LinkedIn, because it is a little bit different animal, and especially for targeting an industry niche is probably the best possible source in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. From the perspective on LinkedIn, it's a more expensive sandbox to play in. So typically, if an advisor's never done marketing before or never invested in a lead acquisition strategy of any sort, we usually recommend starting on Facebook. It's cheaper to get started. The cost per leads are a little lower. You're looking to do more of a volume play there to get those numbers to work out, and you can change offers very rapidly. It's a great place to sort of vet a system, get yourself used to taking leads, calling leads, getting a flow going. But once you're, pretty comfortable with your system, or if you already have an existing offer that's doing really well, say you have a direct mail piece or a local billboard or something that has a hook or an offer that works well already, LinkedIn's a great place for that specific job or industry-based targeting. If you work with CEOs in the healthcare industry regularly, we can do CEOs in healthcare, company sizes 50 to 200 in this local area, say Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, or something along those lines. So with LinkedIn, we get that professional grade targeting that, well, you get some of that on Facebook. Facebook's getting a lot better. They're trying to compete with LinkedIn, offer more professional targeting. It's not quite there yet to the level that LinkedIn is. It's more assumed data, where LinkedIn is like first person verified data. LinkedIn can provide a higher quality lead. And a lot of what we look at is, sure, maybe it costs you 100, 150 to get the lead on LinkedIn, but a larger number of them are going to be qualified compared to what you pay on Facebook. So on the back end, the numbers work themselves out really well. So we're big fans of LinkedIn from a professional targeting perspective, just because you can target the C-suite, you can target directors or VPs, you can target people who more than likely have a larger portfolio, and we can make those assumptions just based on how long they've been in the industry. We can target on years of experience. So if you imagine someone's been slugging away in a 401k for 20 years and they're a VP of marketing or in the C-suite somewhere, that portfolio size is more than likely going to be larger than the soccer mom who might have opted in on Facebook. Not to say that she herself can't have a portfolio, but we can make some assumptions based on professional targeting that we can't just do on Facebook.
Yeah, and let me give 3 real world examples. Let's talk it through for a second. I have one advisor, somebody I've been working with for years. He's a Porsche aficionado. He's collecting the whole series of the 911 turbos and one thing or another. And what I keep trying to get him to do, and by the way, unsuccessfully so far, is I keep trying to get him to go find other people who have his hobby and his passion and become the guy in that niche. And in that example, well, let's go to the 2 others. Another thing we've been working on recently is getting to business owners who have a let's say 10, $5 to $20 million business who are coming up to a liquidation event. So they're getting ready to sell their business and they need somebody to make sure that they preserve the capital. In most cases, they end up, starting another business pretty quick, but to preserve the capital. And the third one is I have a client who wants to target C-suite female executives. And, with those 3 targeting mechanisms, it seems to me, correct me if you have a different perspective, seems to me Facebook is a marvelous place to go get the people who are all in and I'm in a bunch of them. I have an 911 Turbo, but all the Porsche clubs and the pages for different things. And there's groups on Facebook for people who own a Porsche 911 Turbo 996 and 930 and all the different designations and model numbers. You could go crazy getting to that target audience in Facebook. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So someone in the Porsche example, that would definitely I would lean to Facebook for targeting female CEOs. I'd lean on LinkedIn. It can be done on Facebook, absolutely, but I'd have a higher degree of certainty and quality if I were to go to do that on LinkedIn. LinkedIn does offer gender targeting as well as age-based targeting on there. One little caveat with age on LinkedIn is that they assume your age is from when the date you graduated. You would be 21 years old when you graduated college. So if you went back to school and happened to list a new degree on LinkedIn, it would assume your age is 21 there. So it's not a perfect metric for LinkedIn, but still serves us pretty well. And if
That's
you
it. Sorry to interrupt you, Tanner, but that's interesting. So somebody went back when they were 45 and got their MBA, just to clarify, and they were 48, then it would assume that they were, and it was 5 years later, or 7 years later, so they're 55. It would assume they're like 28.
Correct, exactly. So we will test age on and off of a campaign as a split test because occasionally we do see it raise quality. If I don't have the ability to target on seniority for whatever reason, and I want to try and get towards senior decision makers, we'll layer on, must be 35 plus or 45 plus in that instance. And sometimes it's restrictive, but other times we've actually seen good results using the age qualifier. So it's just something to test.
I bet that's what a lot of companies that aren't you guys don't know that because in a lot of niches, we've had a lot of people that want to target, like, let's say, doctors, and so doctors would show that themselves graduating at least at maybe 28 or 29. If they're depending on, well, I suppose their graduation date, their graduation date might be a little earlier. They don't graduate when they're done with residency, but still, there's some college degrees that inherently take a lot longer and doctorate or whatever. And so you've got people that are a good artificially 6 or 7 years younger than they would necessarily be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which describes all 3 of us as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're a professional
Yeah,
academic.
I didn't finish my PhD till I was 40 in my 40s. So so then I must show on LinkedIn pretty young. Well, I guess I'll start using that age now.
Yeah,
there you go.
you can also use
I'll go
years of experience too on Facebook or on LinkedIn, which is a really nice one as well. So to get to those senior decision makers and things like that, if we're having trouble with the age one in general, that's another one that we can layer on top of it. That you've been in the industry for at least 10 years, or you've been in your position for at least 10 years, or you can set it in a couple different ways of how you want to target that. So lots of different ways to get around it. Again, it's not a perfect system, but it gets pretty close, and especially most financial advisors that we're working with would be happy with anyone over 45 or so. So guesstimating in there normally works out pretty well, or getting a little off by a couple years hasn't been a problem so far.
But I mean, I guess the point is you guys understand that. I didn't. That's a new one for me. I didn't know that. So everybody's pretty lucky if they're using you or somebody that understands that well. So great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's this is an unfair question, but if you were going to give a reasonable cost per lead on Facebook versus LinkedIn for a financial advisor, I mean, different from, I don't know, whatever a mass market, low end consumer product is, or whatever it might be. What would you say a reasonable range is in each platform?
Yeah, go ahead, Tanner.
All right, I'll go first. I'll throw the old marketer's caveat. It depends. Right on top.
That's why I say it's an unreasonable question to begin
But
with.
we'll give reasons for why it depends, and then we can still
we got
give
some
estimates.
ranges.
Don't
We got
worry.
some ranges. So if you are in rural versus urban areas, somewhere in like the dead center of New York City versus middle of nowhere, you're just going to have more population to work with, and the cost per lead is going to be cheaper just by sake of volume of people looking at the ads. So I'll start there. But let's just say you're in a mid-market, regular, suburban city of some sort. If I'm on Facebook for a financial advisor promoting a PDF that says, the top 10 guides, top 10 ways to a tax-free retirement, or how to make sure you have enough in retirement, or something along those lines. I'm looking for somewhere between.
Look at Fisher's website, and they have 5 different versions of exactly what you're describing.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I'm probably something along those lines, somewhere in the $10 to $25 range on Facebook for a cost per lead on those, and that's someone who's clicking an ad, going to the landing page, filling out their name, email, phone number, and then maybe a qualifier or two on that, and then downloading the PDF. They get it in their email to read it, and also an opportunity to book a call with you, like free consult or portfolio second look or something like that. If I'm doing the same thing on LinkedIn, I'm going to expect 4 to 5 times the cost. So you're probably going to pay somewhere between 75 to 150 for that on LinkedIn, just depending on who you're going after. Again, if you want to talk to CEOs in Fortune 500 companies, that's going to be pretty pricey to like get those people to move. But if you want to talk to managers who work in industrial jobs or positions in the Midwest, all right, that's going to be a cheaper lead on the lower end of that spectrum. So that's kind of just a rough ballpark. Again, all very variable depending on location and target and the offer itself. But those are some rough numbers that we could work around.
And the argument that I hear occasionally, and they miss the point, is they say, well, why don't I just do Facebook if that's the cheapest lead? And of course, there's going to be a variable on conversion rates, but there's also the issue of how many new clients do I want, what is my capacity, and so forth.
Right.
My argument is I want every new client I can get if I'm still running a positive ROI. Take it from my training in economics many years ago. The economics formula would be I want every new cost of sale up to and including what my gross profit is on each one. But in practical terms, with the lifetime value and even the shorter term value of a client, a qualified client, and especially given that LinkedIn may well create better qualified new prospects for an advisor, I want all of them, right? So I want all of them I can get on Facebook up to the point that the ROI isn't there. I want all of them I can get from LinkedIn up until the point that ROI isn't there. And frankly, I want, we talk about building the Parthenon. I want all of them I can get from direct mail and from Google search and everything else. But that's where the decision making comes in is, no, we don't want to just focus on one thing. We want to focus on everything that's likely to get to them.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at the price per lead, I think say some advisors listening are probably familiar with a group called Smart Asset. It's a content website who farms leads and sells them for $300 a pop. And that's a shared lead. They will send it to everyone who signs up to their service within a certain marketplace, and then they have to go run to the phone as quick as possible to dial that lead. So even if on the high end you're looking at 150 for a good quality lead off of LinkedIn, you're paying half the price of a service like that, and it's exclusive to you. So there's benefits to building your own.
Exclusive and sorry to interrupt you, but and pre-qualified for you because they went through your landing page. They know who you are a little bit, at least rather than just some general no name advisor that's calling you out of the blue, right? Because it could have been one of you or 5 other people or 10 other people.
Right.
And by the way, back to my experience with playing customer or prospect for hundreds, if not thousands, at this point. Mindy's been doing a lot of that. Greg has been doing a lot of that. The follow up is so abysmal. When I'm paying $300 for news, is that everybody in the industry is sucks at their follow up. But the reality is the level of follow up, and I don't care who it is. At one end, it's Fisher Investment, Smart Asset. I've gone through their funnels many times and fed my system. And by the way, I always pretend to be and am, but I'm always a highly qualified prospect in the process. And and by the way, I don't answer my cell phone unless I have an appointment. So, to be fair, they're not getting hold of me by phone right away. But email follow up is minimal, direct mail follow up is non existent, text messaging every now and then somebody will do an outbound call and then follow with a text. Mostly it is just horrible.
Yeah. And on that volume note that you had mentioned before, being able to handle all of the volume that you're getting through these different sources, we would like to think of it as, you have a funnel. So the top of the funnel is all the people at the very top that are just a piece of direct mail or something like that. And then your funnel is getting smaller as people get engage with you. You've maybe had an appointment with them and they're starting to engage. And then it's even smaller when you're getting them to actually turn into clients. So the number that you're actually dealing with on a very regular basis and actually having conversations with is going to be a lot lower as you get further down the funnel than what you have at the top. So you want to have a lot of volume on the top so that you can get more coming through your funnel every time. And you have a constant flow of new people coming through and not just this fire hose of a ton of new leads that then aren't going anywhere because you're not following up with them.
Oh, and by the way, I was having a meeting in their offices with an advisor who, he's a multi-million-dollar producer. He's, top 1/10 of 1% in their organization. And he and another advisor he just brought in are having the conversation of, oh my goodness, we don't want to do that because you're already, running around with your head cut off. You can't handle what you've got. The reality was they had no systems in place. They had too many people, most of them doing 10% efficiency at best. Their processes internally were non-existent. And if they had the same number of people with a little bit of automation and training and process in place, they could have tenfolded their volume. It's just that everything was going through this one guy, and then he was paying people to basically sit around and complain about how hard they were working when they weren't doing anything at all, and were being misdirected when they were doing things. He had also just as an aside, Ken Blanchard I think used to call it seagull management, where you leave everybody alone and then every now and then you fly in, squawk loud, shit all over everybody, yell a lot and then leave and then don't do anything. So
Well, and that's the danger of advisors that do grow to a certain point. They grow to a certain point, and they work. If you work really hard, even if you do really well with referrals, you work really hard with referrals to a certain degree, and then your systems are broken because you number one don't have enough lead flow because you haven't done the stuff we're talking about, and you haven't done enough to make sure that you can handle the business that you have. We've talked to some advisors who have tons and tons of clients, but they got them started with them in life insurance 20 years ago. They could easily work with that list to get them started with now they're selling all kinds of other products and but they don't think they have time for it, but they're super efficient about all this, but they want more clients.
Yeah.
So they think the solution is to get more clients.
Yeah. Let's hit 3 or 4 topics before we run out of time here. One is retargeting, and a lot of what I have you working on for me, a lot of what you're doing for other people is I get somebody who comes and visits my website for whatever reason, a referral, and we know they need ongoing nurture. Oftentimes they haven't filled out a form yet. Oftentimes we haven't gotten to them. That's certainly, at least in with Facebook and Google, something that you can do very effectively. You can stay in front of them, be showing up all the time, and from a standpoint of everybody you've talked to in the past that you haven't gotten hold of yet, even if it's not freshly clicking on a link on a website, those are all people that can be retargeted across platforms. Let's explain that and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. So we call that low-hanging fruit internally. So people who are visiting your website already, a lot of times, if you've done a decent amount of website work, you're showing up locally. If someone's Googling financial advisor near me or something along those lines, maybe they skim the website, they're thinking about a switch, or they know they need, they know they need to start saving for retirement or get a better plan put together or something along those lines. And they're just surfing around for education purposes. We can collect up all of those people into a pool and then make sure your ads stay in front of them on Facebook or LinkedIn. So every time they're sitting at home scrolling around, your name just keeps coming up over and over, whether it's, client testimonial videos, case studies of your work, an opt-in of some sort, PDF or a guide. We're trying to get them to engage with you. And, to your point, those old lists that you have of leads that maybe didn't move forward a long time ago, we can add those in. And retargeting is part of that long-term nurture, sequence that we look at, because as you mentioned, people could be on the list for 5 or 7 years, 6 years before they make a move or decide to switch advisors. You had mentioned earlier that advisors tend to have long retention periods, which on the inverse means it takes a long time for someone to decide to switch. It's going to be a while before someone moves $1 million plus portfolio. They're not going to see one ad and say, "Oh, I'm giving this guy all my money," after seeing the first ad in the newsfeed. So it's a game of nurture, and I think there's a great marketing study that came out recently, earlier this year, that showed that 95% of your market is out of market now. 5% is actually looking to buy or switch or make a move. And so with these funnels that we set up for advisors, we're hunting for those 5%, but we're also nurturing the other 95% at the same time. And so you're kind of trying to play to both sides of the market with effective Facebook or LinkedIn campaigns.
Yeah, and that's also another way of thinking about it as a marketing term is having alternate response mechanisms. If you're ready to make an appointment, call me right now, great. And if you just want to research the subject area, here's a copy of my book. And then here's an educational series, podcast, email, the newsletter, and so forth. That's exactly right. 2 things you hit on. You hit on 1/3 rail there, Tanner, that they all think they can't get through compliance, that the actual laws changed recently as client testimonials. And what they can't do is they can't make earnings claims about returns that are non-representative. But the reality is that legally, maybe not if they're part of a big company and their compliance officer is overly strict, but they can use happy and satisfied clients and I trust this guy, I like this guy. They can do that, although their particular company may not let that get through. The other thing you touched upon, and I was privy to an internal study, and I'm going to butcher the numbers. Greg, Mindy, you may remember the correct numbers, but it was something like 65% of clients of financial advisors who were surveyed were not particularly impressed with their current person, guy or gal. So they weren't jumping up and down about how great they were, right? Which, by the way, if you think that all your traffic is going to be from referrals, you better make sure your clients not only remember your name, but are jumping up and down thinking you're great. The other aspect of that was an actual third of them were thinking about leaving their advisor, actively thinking about leaving their advisor. In other words, they're in that 5% that you're talking about. So people who currently have money under management with an advisor, 35%, were unhappy enough with their person that they were actively thinking about leaving. Now, the actual turnover numbers are a lot lower than that, which means mostly advisors aren't doing very good at getting to people who are disgruntled with their current person and showing them that they would do a better job. And that's that's a whole separate conversation. But you're absolutely right on that, Tanner, from the internal studies is, and of course, one big part of the market is people who don't have money currently under management who are doing it themselves. But the ones who do, they're not particularly happy with their person. And if you get to them right, at least put them into the right kind of developmental and nurture sequence, you can shift them. Let's before we run out of time, let's talk about the second elephant, I guess, in the room is organic posting and one thing or another versus what we're talking about here, which is actually buying paid ads and so forth. How do you balance those two, or what would you tell an advisor who says they're doing an awful lot of social media, but really what they're doing is they're out, posting comments or posting pictures or one thing or another?
Yeah, definitely a big difference between the two. I still stand by both are important. From an ad standpoint, you're getting in front of people and things are being pushed in front of them. So in that case, you're getting a good chance of having people react and see your material. Whereas with social posting on either Facebook or LinkedIn, it does depend on the number of followers you have, the number of friends that you have, and the number of people that the algorithms decide to show it to. So there's a lot lower chance of getting people to actually react. And in most cases, especially on Facebook, it's just your friends that are seeing it. So you're posting and it's your current clients or your brother-in-law or your, cousin that are the ones that are seeing it, and not those potential new prospective clients that you could be reaching out to through ads. So do it, definitely. But we put a low priority on that for sure. So you want to make sure that you have action on your pages, both on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you go to one of those pages and you have a prospective client going to one of those pages, you don't want them to see that your last activity was from 2008. So you want them to see that you have some activity on there. Doesn't necessarily need to be daily. A lot of times we'll do weekly posts or every other day or every 3 days or something like that, where it's a system that is set up so that there's content going out on a regular basis, but it doesn't have to be the number one focus. And there's so many firms out there that's essentially all their marketing team does, if they have a marketing team, that it's just someone that's responsible for the social media posting, but it's not getting a lot of return on investment. And yeah, it's great to post, participation in community events and stuff like that, build that goodwill and build that relationship and the branding of your firm. But, actually getting clients off of it, we haven't seen a ton of action off of, because it's going to people who are either already familiar with you or your brother-in-law that's already a client.
Yeah, and even if you have let's say your business page has 5 or 7,000 people who have liked your page, what 200, 300 maybe see the post.
Yeah.
So a fairly small percentage. There's a reason why Facebook, LinkedIn, Google are multi-billion-dollar companies who figured out how to mint money. Is they want you to give money to them in order to share their client base that you help put together. Tan, I think I interrupted you. You were going to build on that.
Yeah, just to say, there are strategies out there for building your personal network and increasing the reach of organic posts over time. But I liken it to having a savings account, to where like you put a little bit into your social posts, every day, every other day. And over a year, 2 years, 3 years plus, you build a large enough organic network to where you can start to extract some value. But for the advisor who is not looking to spend 3 years building and connecting with people on LinkedIn, it needs to get a solution set up now. You can pay your way to the front of the line with a solid paid media strategy that sets up a lead funnel and can start getting leads this week. So there's a difference in, to your point, why these companies are as wealthy as they are, because they figured out a way to get us to pay for that attention.
Yeah. The other thing we've seen a lot of advisors do is like in LinkedIn now, there's software that'll go initiate a connection with somebody. You can do sequential follow up with them. We do some of this where you can, initiate a connection, you can direct message them. I know your company does some where it's direct messaging combined with outbound telemarketing and so forth. Address that a little bit. What are the pros, cons, misuses, effectiveness of some of those things?
Yeah, definitely a lot of misuse in that, especially the automated bots that are just sending out hundreds of connection requests. LinkedIn has, this is all LinkedIn talk. Facebook, not so much of an issue, but on LinkedIn, they have seriously limited the number of connection requests that you can send out per day and per week and per month. So if you have a bot that's going in and disobeying those limits or trying to get past and put around those things, they have a lot of things in place to make sure that you are a person actually doing it. Your LinkedIn account does get shut down. We've had a lot of clients that has happened to, and then they come to us and they're like, everything's shut down, and you basically need to start from scratch, or put in appeals with LinkedIn to get it reactivated and restarted. So worth it from a certain extent, but we find too with our clients, and especially in a long play, again, this is a long play where you're building your connections, building your people in your network. It takes 20 minutes to go in and do 50 a day, of the people, of the exact type of people that you want, or 10 a day, totally doable, where you're searching for certain job titles, searching for specific types of people that you can go in and shoot a connection request to, and then hopefully start a conversation down the road. LinkedIn, you can't actually message them until they've accepted that connection request. So the number of connection requests you send out will be higher than the number of messages that you end up sending out later on if they do connect.
Yeah, yeah. So, the bottom line of that is be careful with the automation because it may get you in trouble. And, we used to do a lot of that with Facebook before they got wise to it and shut a lot of that down. We were doing a lot of scraping on Facebook. We were doing a lot of direct messaging and so forth. And I mean, in our corporate account, as you guys know, because you're monitoring way more than I am, we've just been inundated with spam to the point that I don't even look at the messages coming in.
It's bad these days, and Facebook is rife with it. They do, I mean, I'll give them some credit here and there. Anyone that's tried to sell anything on like Facebook Marketplace, you immediately get hit with like 5 spam bots. And they've implemented some stuff there, and they try and chase it around, but it's one of those things where the system is so big they literally can't keep an eye on everything, and scammers are always just on to the next move and or tactic. So, some tactics will work for a while and then they catch on and shut it down. But yeah, these days the new one is that they send you have a violation notification from like Facebook. It'll say Facebook police or like something weird looking, and have a quasi Facebook logo, and they try and get you to click a link to appeal whatever it is, and they're never real. Facebook will never send something like that, and that seems to be the newest trick of the day.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, be respectful of time. We're pretty much out of time here. Anything that we haven't touched upon that everybody should know about this subject?
In general, I think to your point of getting a new lead generation set up, one of the reasons we enjoy working with your clients, particularly over the years, is because you help them fill that knowledge gap. If someone has never set up a lead generation pipeline, they're not used to doing follow-up, not used to picking up the phone and dialing, not used to long-term nurture cadences. Your clients get that. And I think that's one of the benefits of working with you and with us at the same time, as we're able to sort of build a complete system and shorten up the learning curve quite a bit for somebody. A lot of times I liken it to fixing leaky pipes in a house. You fix one pipe and then the pressure goes down the line to the next old pipe and the leak starts happening there, and you fix that one and you have to go all the way down the line until you have a working system again. So I think with that analogy, we have a group of competent plumbers here that can fix the pipes for everyone.
Yeah, and conversely, we worked with a couple of other companies with the clients over the years, and most of them were like one-trick ponies. They would be good for 90 days, good for 120 days, and then they're out of tools. And that's where I think has been a very effective working relationship. Is you're really good at when does the offer burn out? What's the new offer? We're really good at knowing the niche and what we should target, and so we can keep it alive and in many cases now for 10 years, 12, 15 years, still getting reasonable cost leads and high quality conversions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Kate, anything else to add?
Last thing I would add is just a timing aspect of everything. So, here we are at the end of the year. January is something that we like to call January magic. It's significant where the lead gen opportunities in January are exceptionally good because all of the holiday spending and holiday ad budgets have, kind of calmed down, and your advertising space is opening up a bit. So, especially for something like financial advisors, from a financial health standpoint, and from a, setting yourself up for a new year, all of that kind of stuff, January is a really strong month for lead generation, for almost every business that we work with, but financial advisors for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that means they should probably contact you right now so they get set up for January, not wait till January 2nd to get spooled up.
Yeah. We're quick, but we're not, immediate. But yeah, 2 weeks or so build out time normally.
Well, and conversely, November, December, I always call it fighting Santa Claus. You're fighting all the big retailers who are there. In fact, most of the time you'd be fighting the big movie studios, but they all seem to have shit the bed this year. So, but you when you're fighting the big retailers and you're fighting the promotions for, the holiday blockbusters and so forth, that's an expensive time to get people's attention and to be focusing on lead gen. Well, good. We'll call it a day. I'll put your contact information in the show notes, or Mindy will. But it's again, linked selling, and we have a really good working relationship. So people that we're working with, it's always a great job because we're able to, as Tanner said, help solve the conversion problem and to keep people's expectations in a realistic, but a 300% to 1,000% ROI is completely doable with both platforms in a niche where the new client is so valuable.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, guys. It's been hopefully very enlightening for everybody listening in on us.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
The recording
And
has
I gotta go run
stopped.
pick up Chase, so I've got to run. And then good stuff there. And then guys, we really hope to. This probably won't come out till January. So Greg was thinking his foot in his mouth there, but
Well, she said January, so
It's okay. It's
I'm
fine.
tying
We'll
that
take them
together.
anytime.
that's okay. Whenever we get it in the queue. But Mindy, hopefully I get a quarter's worth of podcast done this before the holidays. I've knocked out quite a few of them here in the last couple of days. But guys, we'll follow up, and we've got to kickstart the financial advisor niche here. We've been doing a pretty good job getting some new martial arts clients. Although I'm kind of frustrated with losing our top echelon last couple months. So it's gotten to be kind of frustrating on that end. But
we'll get to it.
Yep.
Tanner, congratulations.
Oh, thank you again. Yeah, I think I actually hear over here calling my name as well.
There you go. Okay. Bye, guys.